And that's about the time that Cam made his first appearance on The Voice of College Football.
Yeah, that was early on in my time at State of the U. I was doing both Canes Insight and State of the U, and that's when this started happening. So, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I bleed orange and green. Y'all know that. I went to the U, graduated from the U, and we're here to talk about the U. So let's get it.
Well, Damian Martinez, we've talked about him as well. He's an all Pac-12 performer at running back, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 yards plus per carry the last 2 seasons. So he had a lineup of visits. I know that he's canceled a few, and Miami seems to be distinguished in that he is making the trip twice, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think that there's the unofficial and an official. So you can take multiple officials if and when you have coaching changes. But, if you pay your own way, you can do the unofficial visit type thing. So, yeah, we've already gone in-home with Damian Martinez before he started taking some of his scheduled visits. He did cancel one of them. I forget which school. There's multiple ones in there. But yeah, he did cancel one of those visits. And the way that it stands with the timing of the portal window, Miami is slated to get the last visit for Damian Martinez. You always want to have that last visit. Even if it doesn't always work, you would love to be the last one connected to a player before a commitment. Just kind of the way that it goes, guys. You know what I mean? So, yeah, very excited there. Would again be a good get. This is a guy who's had more than 6 yards a carry in a major conference, or a former major conference, since it doesn't exist anymore. But not playing against FCS level competition, Division II. Like, he played a solid schedule. And actually, let's go look up good old CFB stats. I should have had this one pulled up, but if I go to Oregon State, I did scroll far once. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I go to Oregon State and I go to rushing and I go to Damian Martinez and I go to game log. 87 yards against number 11 Arizona on only 14 carries. They forced him to throw the ball a lot. 115 against Colorado, 15 for 146 and 4 tutties in a 62-point performance against Stanford. They lost by 2 to Washington, but 26 for 123 and 2 tutties. Like, this is a guy who, and I mean, he didn't have fewer than 65 yards in any game. That was against Utah, but they still won that. But, yeah, this is a guy who showed up in big games against good competition and good solid defenses all season long. So adding him, would be a great thing. I heard Gabby Rudy on his podcast say, if Damian Martinez came, and obviously, Mark Fletcher, I think, would be easier presumed starter, but he has a foot injury, and foot injuries, sometimes they linger and sometimes they really affect things. But, you add, even if you considered Mark Fletcher in there, but if you have Damian Martinez and Cam Ward, like, you got the best quarterback running back combo in the conference, like, pretty solidly, I think. So this is why we're going after him. There's other guys out there. There's the By Job kid, 4-star edge rusher, originally from Kansas. Miami was one of his finalists when he committed to Michigan State 2 years ago. He's in the portal now. There's a couple defensive tackles out there that people are really, really, really fighting after and whatnot. So it will not only be Damian Martinez, but it's a good place to start the conversation.
Yeah, so that D tackle position that is pretty prominent in regards to there being substantial players that got reps, got snaps, got starts at places like Michigan State and TCU and elsewhere. Is that a position of need, or would Miami just grab one of those guys because they're a really good player?
I'm sorry, my mom just texted me. Which one? D-tackle? Oh, no, D-tackle's now a position of need, especially with Jared Harrison Hunt having announced that he's going to transfer out. That's a guy who was going to get, big rotational snaps, if not start. I mean, he has 21 starts at Miami, including 11 last year. As a guy coming back, I thought that was a big win after the season in that first transfer portal / maybe NFL or NFL draft declaration window. I don't think that Jared Harrison Hunt should have declared for the draft, but I know that he was, considering it at the time. So getting that kind of a guy back was huge, but then losing him, that's going to be a spot of need. You lost Darrell Jackson to Florida State before last year. He's a guy who would be a third year, really a third-year starter coming in. Now, I know that you're not counting him off of last year's roster, but like in the window of like would have been on this team, Daryl Jackson would have been there, but he's not. So like you have him, then you have Leonard Taylor leave early, and then you have Jared Harrison Hunt as well. Like, yeah, you're starting to get to the point of like, oh yeah, no, we need bodies, like big bodies close to the ball. That's been the thing on both sides of the ball. I think that we're in a much better spot on the offensive line, but defensive line, like, yeah, you need some guys, and first of all, you need some guys. Period. Joe Salavea, I think, is doing a decent job in recruiting. I have been dumping on him sometimes, but you got to trust the process and look at the entire span of the recruiting class. He's actually gone and gotten, some good guys, Artavius Jones, Justin Scott, in the class and everything, but still, even guys that big, you need multiple of them. And it takes a year or two of just getting that grown man strength, just your body develops in a different kind of way. So when you lose a 6th-year guy like a Harrison Hunt, on top of losing a starting guy in 56, Leonard Taylor, on top of losing another starter the year before who would have been on this roster in Daryl Jackson, now you're looking at like, yeah, we need guys. So every top option is going to be there. And again, this window right now, this is where Miami is really going to have to put their money where their mouth is. Canes Connection Collective, it's up to y'all, man. Like, this is show and prove time. Again, I've said it on here so many times. This is an all-in season. You have to go all in. And to do that, you have to build out or fill the holes on this roster with mercenaries. I don't care. Go get them, buy them, and get them on here. And we're not the only school that does it, so I don't want to hear about it. Florida State did it last year. They went undefeated in the regular season. And there are other teams as well. I'm not only saying them, but we see this happen. Things are cyclical in college football. The cycle is turning to say the window for Miami to finish building out this roster with top end talent from this portal to build as much of a team for this year as possible is here. Put up the money or shut up.
Paying players is not cheating. It's part of the process now. Even the inducement is not cheating anymore. That's been ruled as well as being fully legal, and that the NCAA cannot restrict inducement, that's against the law. So basically, I won't go to the, what term am I looking for? Tampering. I won't go there, but everything else, it's wide open, it's legal. So the only people complaining in regards to fans are those that think, well, they're spending more. Well, that's just part of the deal, that some are going to spend more than others, but everybody's doing the same thing.
Fact. And again, we're right at the point now where we need to lean into that and actually spend the money. That's how you're going to get these guys. I mean, like all these top guys and everything, like they're not just out there in the portal with nobody trying to talk to them, man. Like they're just many teams want Damian Martinez. Many teams want insert player here that you're going after. So you got to win those recruiting battles. And especially in this time, it's going to take money. Just point of fact.
People, just think about your own experience. What jobs have you taken? Were those the highest paying jobs that you could get, or were you taking the third out of 3? If you were offered 3 jobs, were you taking the one that paid the least or the most? And then there might be on rare occasion that you took something that was slightly less if you could be convinced that this company has all these other components going for it that can help you. But that typically, that's a rarity. That's a rare occasion. So generally, I got to think that the players are taking the most money, unless, of course, there's a tie or a close to a tie. Then they're evaluating, can I win a championship here? I like the coaching staff. They can get me to the NFL in better shape. They've a proven record of development, all those things that they're taking into consideration. But it starts with the almighty dollar, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's other things that go into it, but yeah, all things being equal, like, let me go where I can make more money. Duh. And I mean, but there are other considerations as well. But like, yeah, that is part of it. I'm interested to see how this plays out when the college football game drops in probably like 3 months. Let's go. Oh boy. Mm-mm-mm. Cannot wait. I already told my boss, hey, I'm taking time off. Like that when that PTO rolls over, like expect to see me missing this summer because I will be in front of my television.
So, so when you say you can't wait to see how it turns out, are you talking about how late they can wait in the process to make sure that players are on their correct teams?
No, I used the unclear antecedent. Shout out to my English teachers at Cranbrook. So the it was referring to NIL player compensation as part of recruitment. Da, 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 da. That was the it I was referring to. However, like all these things, like the rosters, those are easily updatable with downloadable content just for free and everything. But they also do have to sign the contracts with everybody to ensure the compensation and things like that. So all of those are going to be set well beforehand and then programmed in. And whatnot for player likenesses. So again, they're going to have the same gear swag and armbands and the styling that whatever the player is. But yeah, I was specifically talking about finances as part of talent acquisition being the it. But I also just want to see the game. I would anticipate what was it, the second or third Tuesday in July? Like it has never been broken. Do not try to fix it. Like we know that the O'Bannon case and them not being allowed to compensate people is the only reason we have not had this game. So do the same thing. Drop it second or third Tuesday in July. It'll be great. I don't know. I might do an online dynasty through the website and then give updates on the weekly or something. Maybe I'll do that and get back into my bag with some video game content because I'm a huge video game fan and have done video game content before. So maybe I'll do that. We'll see what it's looking like, but very excited for that, and also very excited to see what the final roster for the real life IRL Miami Hurricanes looks like after this staff goes on the road. Well, actually literally on the road, and then also brings the players to campus to recruit and optimize this roster for this season so that we can push forward for the kind of season that I think could happen.
One of the Michigan State defenders we referred to, defensive tackle Simeon Barrow, is visiting Missouri until Friday. Miami is going to be a visit for him early next week, and then another SEC school. That's according to Gabby Arudio.
Another guy that, yes, we need, and I would take Barrow over by Job because why? I think that we're in a better spot at edge than defensive tackle. So you get a guy like Barrow. There's the CJ something from
CJ
Ball State.
West.
Yes, I was going to say Wiley, but that's a receiver in this class who is the number one receiver for Luke Nickel at Milton, Georgia, CJ Wiley. But CJ West, again, everybody wants this kid, right? First team all conference, a little bit more advanced in age, advanced in skill, has the size you're looking for. Everybody named Mama wants CJ West. For CJ West, like you're going to have to, number one, give the opportunity to start. Like that's just going to have to happen. And like, yeah, it's going to be a bidding war but now imagine on this roster, if the collective puts their money where their mouth is, we get Barrow and we get West. I'm in such a good spot at defensive tackle if that happens. Like backflips and cartwheels, I am so good. And of course, also we have 44, Ruben Hurricane Bain, who can play outside and inside. We have other guys on the roster. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, but you get those two, that's emblematic of the kind of development and optimization of the roster that we need to have.
Guess who, everyone? Falconer TRX, of course, gets us started. Thank you so much for that, Falconer TRX. We appreciate you. And he follows up quickly with this one. Will the T-Swift classes in Miami help recruiting?
Wait a minute. Are you serious? While I furiously Google, one of the claims to fame. I remember in the 90s when I was in middle school and high school going, looking towards college. The University of Michigan had a Simpsonsology minor, I want to say. So it was like there were multiple courses of the structure and development and all things Simpsons, like the TV show, like yeah, that one, and everything. So like that was a cool thing. And then I'm looking, UM class explores Taylor Swift's branding success. I see that, which is cool. University of Miami to offer class on Taylor Swift from YouTube 2 weeks ago. Oh, wow. Okay. Dope. Miami Law offers legal course on Taylor Swift's IP empire. What the Taylor Swift class will teach. Huh. Interesting. The Seattle Times has this article. I was a little behind. Sign up for no, I don't want to sign up for the Seattle Times. Sorry, this is really bad podcasting that I'm reading this online or live, but yeah, no, there is going to be a T-Swizzle class. That is incredible. Berklee College of Music offers a Songs of Taylor Swift class. Well, but Berklee, that's contemporary pop and jazz focused conservatory, so that makes sense. But yeah, I think it could with recruiting like certain people. I don't know necessarily that it's going to go over into football recruiting, but it is something that is interesting and unique. And I appreciate. I try to be a lifelong learner myself, Falcon TRX. So thank you for bringing that to my universe. I will have to go check that fully out and not try to read the whole article live on the air.
She is quite the businesswoman. Falconer coming back with this one. Is Swift pro or anti-turf on the field, of course? Well,
anti, because Kansas City has real grass. So clearly she's dating someone who plays on real grass, which is her preference. Duh. I mean, come on. Use your context clues, guys. Come on.
Cam went that direction. I was going to go the other way because I was going to think that her concerts would be more manageable on turf in big NFL stadiums for her fans and for the crews to set up, that it would just be a much cleaner process.
She would just pay for the resodding, like whatever, okay. Like whatever stadium it is, I'm going to do a show. If I got to add $100,000 for y'all to resod the field, or more probably, fine, cool, do it, whatever.
Leroy, thank you so much for being here. Leroy says, made it this week. Glad to be here with you guys.
Appreciate having you, brother. Always good. Always good.
Thanks, Leroy. Appreciate you. All right. Well, we can kick it from there to the future. And meanwhile, while you're pulled up, comments and questions are encouraged. So we will monitor the chat. The NFL draft's coming up this weekend. And I got to say, off the top of my head, I have not looked into this. Therefore, I don't know who is expected to go from Miami and where.
Leonard Taylor, James Williams, Javion Cohen, Matt Lee. I expect them all to be drafted. I do not expect them to be drafted before middle of the third round at the earliest. Anything above that is like gravy for those guys. Apart from that, I don't know that anybody else is draftable. Yeah, to be perfectly honest, I don't think there's anybody else that went that's draftable this year. Sorry, Cam Kinchins. I didn't even look in the chat, but I know they're screaming at me. How did you forget? My bad. Excuse me. So those five, Kinchins, Williams, Taylor, Cohen, and Lee, I could see getting drafted. You're looking probably at a 4 or lower. Middle of the third is the absolute ceiling. If anybody goes above that, that's a blessing, to be perfectly honest, especially with the fact that all those guys, they tested athletically fairly average. I mean, I have to let me just check this one. Oh yeah, no, James Williams tested horribly. Yeah, he's 537 out of 976 free safeties in terms of raw athletic score from 1987 to 2024. Most of his height and weight are great, in the um, elite category, but everything else graded out either poor or lower, which would be poor or very poor. Um, I think that it's been 6 years coming for him, buddy. It's linebacker time. Like, I know that he searched his name on Twitter. I said he screamed at me, he screamed at Bud Elliott when he was at SB Nation, years ago and everything. But yeah, you're geez, let me see. A 30-inch vertical, 909 broad, 465 in the 40 and everything. Buddy, it's time to move down to the box. Maybe eat some Wheaties, a couple extra protein shakes, and be a dynamic outside linebacker, weak side backer, and everything. So you're not, I'm never going to claim that he's going to be James Harrison or anything, or just like that rocked up and then just like, yeah, strong side, like I'm, heels at forward, I'm going and I'm busting somebody's helmet as I fill a hole. That's probably not going to be James Williams, but playing safety, it was a novel idea. I get that you loved it and everything, and you had the ability because of your size and athleticism relative to your peers for the last 6 years to stay there. But like, in football terms, like it's time to grow up, like Peter Pan, like let's let that dream go of what you want to be, and like open your eyes to like what you really are. And I think that that's going to also be key to where he gets drafted, because I think a team would be, I mean, I hate to say it, but yeah, at the NFL level, I think a team would be foolish to draft him and put him at safety. Sorry.
Is there a player in this draft for Miami that you think is being underregarded that could turn out to be a pretty productive NFL player?
I think the offensive linemen, I think Cohen and Lee, really. They play interior positions. These are positions where guys can develop and carve out lasting careers for themselves. And we've seen that. John Feliciano, I mentioned him a lot. He went to Miami. He was a 3-year project, him and Danny Isadora from the same recruiting class and everything. And he played, started in the Super Bowl for the 49ers, however many years on into the league. Like, I think that is possible. I think that you can carve that kind of a career as a mid-round pick on interior line. I think that's very possible. So I would say both of those guys, maybe more Cohen. I'm sorry, more Cohen than Lee, just because I think that Cohen is a little bit more athletic than Lee is, but Lee is very cerebral. And if he's able to, really show the strength, the physical strength on the field, that he needs at that center position, I think that he could. So I would say those would be the guys I would lean on, maybe in that kind of a regard.
We've got Knox King 94. Thank you for the 10 spots, sir.
Nice.
Only a person T Swift player would sway would be a third string walk-on place kicker.
I mean, we'll see. Who knows? Especially for a class in whatever school that is. I don't, like I said, I skimmed the article really quickly. I don't even know if it's because it was a business class that looked at her IP thing, from IP being intellectual property, redoing her album's Taylor's version to own her masters because of the shenanigans with her previous manager / paramour and whatnot. So that was in the law department. I don't even know. This could be a music class, which will be interesting because there's going to be a lot of kids trying to audit this music class that like would have never tried to sign up for MUS, whatever the number is before, that are now trying to go over and do that. But yeah, I don't necessarily know that it's going to sway things in terms of recruiting. As I look up the NFL draft player rankings, for prospects this year. The only two that I'm seeing on this list are that I didn't already mention. Tyler Harrell, the track star who went to Louisville and then Louisville hurt his foot, went to Alabama, kind of washed out, came back here home, same kind of a thing. And then Caleb Johnson, the linebacker. But yeah, really just the five that I mentioned before: Kinchins, Taylor, Williams, Cohen, and Lee. Those are the ones that you're looking at getting drafted at any point in this draft. But I don't really expect anything till end of day 2, going into day 3 of the draft, which is in Detroit, Detroit.
I didn't know that spelling out of Detroit was a thing. Or is that just
it's not? I started it and then I was like, I don't even know, and I just kept going with it. It is not like a known thing, like Dr. Dre on a record, spelling out Compton or anything. I just the inspiration struck me halfway through, so I finished it off.
Well done. Jaden Wayne is no longer a Miami Hurricane unless, of course, he opts out of the portal. He has added his name. Any thoughts about his career as a Hurricane?
I mean, wish he would have stuck around. He was a guy who was a 5-star for a while during his recruitment and mysteriously dropped to a 4-star his senior year. Thought he played pretty well, in high school when he transferred over to IMG and everything. But he's a guy like Caleb Spencer that, in the prior iteration of college football, he's a guy who sticks around as a bottom of the rotation player this year to step into a larger role next year and the year after. But in today's, free movement college football landscape and everything, he didn't want to wait around for that and got recruited over. Like, this is the thing that you see, like Marquise Lightfoot, Ruben Bain, in same class and everything. But like, you get recruited over and you see some of those early snaps going to, similarly aged guys or younger guys. And, you look to have an immediate impact or a larger role maybe somewhere else. I do think that he's a Power 5 player. I think that he still needs a year to just refine his body and his technique a little bit more before he's able to step into a larger role. But yeah, again, in the same way as Caleb Spencer from the same recruiting class, in eras gone by, he's a valued backup preparing himself for a starting role next year. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. Wish him the best. Obviously, I have no personal ill will towards him. Gabby Arudia, he's funny. I just thought of this. When Jaden Wayne took his recruiting visit, he took a photo of him walking over to the Hecht in a very specific framing, because down in the corner of this picture, like way over here, was Jaden Wayne's mother, who is a well-built and attractive woman. So he just put it on there, and he was sure, and he just put it on the page and everything. Like, if you're on the two, I know that there's going to be so much traffic spiking to Jaden Wayne's 247 page to go through, but you'll see, like, yeah, she's a very attractive woman. So Gabby just threw it out there and put it on the timeline. I'm like, you are a savage, and I see what you're doing, and it's smart. But that, unfortunately for me, that is going to be the lasting memory of Jaden Wayne at Miami. That one interestingly framed photo that included his very attractive mother.